Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Stacked, powered by FreightWaves SONAR. I'm your host, as always, VP of Product Marketing at FreightWaves, Adam Robinson. On today's episode, I am welcomed by Chris Kirchner, CEO of Slink, a logistics orchestration platform that delivers better outcomes by connecting people, accelerating processes, and removing the barriers of connecting with your trading partners. Today, Chris and I are going to have a great discussion about how to pull off true digital transformation of the supply chain with technology by putting those who use the platform on the day-to-day, us humans, at the heart of tech implementation and adoption. We're going to talk about how tech leaders and buyers should really think about digital transformation. What's the role of supply chain tech to augment human workflows to create maximum efficiency? What is the importance of interoperability to drive tech adoption? And how to think about the modern tech stack and how supply chain leaders can achieve a higher ROI, that return on investment, for their various tech investments. So thanks for coming on to Stack today, Chris. It's great to have you. It's really nice to kind of have you here early on in Stacked history because you were my second guest ever on my first podcast, the Freight Project podcast. And you guys have pivoted and grown quite a lot since then. You have a beard coming in, so a lot of good change. But as I do with all of my guests, I want to make sure the listeners get a sense of your background and tell us a little bit about the company you're CEO for, Slink.
Yeah, well, first, I hope I'm not bad luck. Since you're on a new podcast, I hope I wasn't the reason the old one's no longer in existence. Um,
No,
so
it's
no,
by acquisition, so it was
no,
really successful.
no. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Good to catch up, and great now that we're both in Dallas. So yeah, Chris Kirchner, founder CEO of Slink, formerly out of San Francisco, now out of Dallas, Texas. Uh, I always like to say we were kind of early on the Bay Area exodus. Actually coming up on a year here, which is pretty wild. So yeah, I guess from a pivot perspective, if you consider blockchain or dropping blockchain a pivot, then sure. In terms of what we've been after and delivering outcomes for our customers and focusing on really the big data problem and the user enablement problem that a lot of enterprises have, especially in logistics operations, that North Star for us has never changed. The method of getting to the solution maybe has. Some of the underlying technology, we've learned a lot. I think any good startup spends a lot of time listening and learning. And so, yeah, we've come a long way. I think the last time we spoke, if I have the date right, we had maybe a dozen employees or fewer. At this point, we're about to cross 100. So it's pretty crazy. Just in the couple years. Yeah, it was funny. I had a weird reminder yesterday. 4-year anniversary of Slink is my job on LinkedIn. And it's funny how little things like that really, trigger time to reflect and think about what's happened over the last few years. And, sometimes I don't stop enough to appreciate it. But yeah, it's, just really fortunate right now. Great people, great teams, great company. Yeah, it's a fun time right now.
But there's a lot of optimism, a lot of pent up demand, and I think what I really like to see, one, you got my Dallas Stars. I'm here in the area as well. One of the few Freight Waves employees not in Chattanooga or Freight Alley as they call it. But it's really been fun to watch Slink grow on the sidelines and just be a fan. I love that you guys have beefed up with some of the great marketers that I've interacted with, and it's really good to see you continue to grow. And as time passes, you'll continue to see these milestones on LinkedIn, and I'm sure other ways to just kind of remind you of, hey, we're on a mission, we're working hard. Time does fly when you're having fun, and ultimately, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you guys is that you really are engaged in the community. You understand that, for supply chain technology to work, you've got to talk to a lot of people. Undoubtedly, you've had thousands of conversations with leaders in the space, practitioners, but also as you commercialized your product and you went, to market with it, and it becomes more mature and you get a better sense of what you're offering because you are really responding to those conversations, you're going to add more value. And one of the biggest things that's really come up, and it's probably a buzzword, it happened in marketing 10 or 12 years ago, this digital transformation, right? And maybe it's a way to offer flexibility, a way to offer resilience, but what does it really mean? I'm sure you get a lot of various answers from different people when you have this conversation. And it's not that there's not merit in digitizing your supply chain, but from our perspective, how should leaders and tech buyers really think about digital transformation today?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing is it's not a finite journey. It's not a point to point start at position A and then all of a sudden transformation complete when you reach position B. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer maybe on what transformation is. And, I think one of the early things I was taught about business is that, if you're not growing, if you're not living and improving and learning, then you're dying. And so you're either going in one direction or the other. And that's, kind of up to the leadership of the company. And so when it comes to a digital transformation, I think you're either digitizing, reevaluating, reassessing the ways that you do business, the ways that your people work with each other, the ways processes are executed, or you're not changing at all and you're doing the same thing. And, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think in today's world, that's just a luxury most companies don't have. They have to change as more startup companies are disrupting markets or really challenging foundational beliefs of how businesses should operate in a specific segment. Take Uber with taxis, right? Taxis were a thing that have been around for forever. Uber really foundationally shook what people think about when it comes to ride hailing. And when you have businesses like that really challenge those status quos, you have no choice if you're in that market but to adapt, but to change. And I think now you have digital freight forwarders, digital freight marketplaces, a number of categories that have changed how people transact or changed how people think about moving goods from one point to another around the world. And that's caused the existing businesses to reevaluate and reassess the ways that they do it. And that results in a digital transformation at the enterprise side, and that's where we come in. Our goal and where we're different. Yes, we're a software company. We are a SaaS platform. We are a software company, but we're very different in how we engage customers. You mentioned being involved in the community. We don't have 1 million customers. We don't have 1,000 customers. You will never see us tout a customer number to just show that, oh, we're so big because we have so many customers. That's not how our business is built. That's not what Slink is about or what we stand for. We have a select amount of customers. We work with businesses that reflect our ideals, that have the same views of their digital journey and where they want to go and what they want to achieve. And we help enable that. We're a partner. We deliver outcomes to our customers. And that's a lot more than just software. And so that's where I think a lot of the growth that we've seen in the last year and a half has been a result of that coming into play. It takes a while to get those first few customers when you're in this very deep engagement and this kind of long process sell. It takes a while to start. But now, you're just seeing kind of the fruits of that labor start to blossom. And it's, I guess, caught a lot of people by surprise. But for us, this was, what we intended from day one. So yeah, digital transformation is a fun buzzword, but I think it's a very real thing. And it's, it's why we're here and why Slink exists in the form it does today.
Yeah. It's not like Tiger Woods just got a new golf club and it changed his swing. The man had to transform himself, and he continues to have to transform himself. And I really love that, Slink, not only sponsoring, the great hockey team here in Dallas, the Dallas Stars, but you guys have really dug in on that golf mentality where, Justin Rose is one of the golfers that you have the Slink logo on. And golf is such a mental game. You're continually transforming. One of the only sports that you're really competing with yourself day in and day out. And, I love that, kind of bridge there that you've made where, it's not about just flipping out systems and saying, oh, I'm better. Here's a TMS that I used to have, and now I've onboarded this new thing, and all of a sudden I'm transformed. And I'm sure that kind of mentality of ripping and replacing is great for consultants and vendors, But is end-to-end system replacement really practical for, a big shipper or a logistics service provider that really can't afford to risk those customer relationships with new or unproven technology? How should they think about going into this buying cycle of, okay, I've been using some technology. It's been doing pretty well, but as things continue to get more complex, volatile, we're dealing with many disruptions across many shipping modes all at once. How should they go into thinking about how to start that process?
Well, I think the first thing, I'm going to put myself in a regional box here for a second. Coming from Kentucky, we always said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think there are a lot of systems that work. And so there's no reason to change. This idea, to your point of this complete demolition and restart, one, it's just not necessary in a lot of cases. But two, I don't know too many businesses that can afford to do it. I was at a conference, God, back when live conferences were a thing, in 2019, and I forget who said it, but it was one of the speakers, and they were talking about digital transformation. They said, doing it in supply chain and doing a transformation or changing a system or changing a process, it's like changing the wheels of a car going 80 miles an hour down the highway. You can't stop the car. You can't pull the car over and say, okay, for the next 6 months, we're not going to deliver product and we're going to reinvent how we do it. And so there is no rip and replace, right? There has to be some sort of seamless transition, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. And all the while, it's not just about the system. It's about the process. It's about the people. Do you have the right people? Do you have the right headcount for the right function in the new process versus what you've been doing? What are the skill sets that are needed? There's so many different layers to digital transformation aside from just going out and buying software. Anybody in the software business knows all the horror stories of different vendors and hundreds of millions or billions of dollars wasted because the integration went wrong. Because there were too many cooks in the kitchen, or you have vendors and integrators and consultants and all these people who think they know what's best, and all the while they're forgetting the fact that they're there to do one thing, which is deliver a desired outcome to their customer. And so part of what we've done and what we've built internally at Slync is, one, hire experts, hire people who've been on the operational side, hire people that can tell our team internally what to do, but also empathize with our customers and say, yeah, look, here's how we did it. Here were our roadblocks. Here's what we can do to help through those roadblocks. And we've taken the different kind of constituents of, business process experts, software experts, integrators, and bundle it all together so that we can go with a customer and say, here's what we're selling you. Here's this outcome. And here's where we're going to be in 12 months. And there's no one here to point fingers. There's no one here to blame somebody else. We're going to own that. And it's you, our customer, and Slink, and we're going to go on this journey together, and we're going to get to that outcome together. And that I think is something very, very simple, but it's something that I think we've changed just in terms of how people view the enterprise software engagement model, or kind of going away from this idea of, hey, I can just buy software and slap it in and it works. It's very different in the supply chain and in logistics operations because of that need to continuously operate through the transition, versus, a lot of other business functions, whether it's marketing, sales, whatever it may be. Implementing a CRM is not going to stop your ability to make money, right? Your salespeople are just going to go from taking notes in a notebook to taking them on the computer one day. Whereas when you change an operational process like logistics, your products are not getting to customers if you have an issue. That's a problem.
That's a huge problem. And I think what you've really focused on here is how digital transformation ultimately pays off. I hear from Matt Gunn, who's my product marketing cohort at Slink. And, he said that you have some pretty strong convictions about how to set the right expectations, how to remember that, hey guys, technology at its core makes humans much more efficient, makes them feel like they can make a difference. And when the end customer knows that you have people who have been in their seats, empathy becomes a pretty big, important aspect of change management. So, when it comes to thinking about reality and not being able to stop the supply chain because you must deliver that product, I can stop a blog post and not the world doesn't end. I can stop a podcast, the world doesn't end, but you can't stop a supply chain. So you got to think about the humans and what they're doing within the technology. So can you elaborate on, why you are so passionate about making sure technology matches realistic workflows, and why is this critical for successful tech adoption in today's supply chain?
Yeah, well, so a couple things. One, I'm an outsider, right? I'm not from Silicon Valley. I came there from Kentucky after I started Slink. In fact, Supply Link in the early days. And so I don't know. I view the world a little bit differently, and I think in any startup or any growth company that has a founder CEO, the company embodies a lot of your beliefs and who you are. And so I never really liked the buzzword bingo from a marketing perspective. Like for us, frankly, blockchain was a way to, just as an example, blockchain was a way for us to organize data. We knew this is a big data problem. We needed something that we thought could help us bring this multi-party data together and make it nice and neat. And the fact is, it was just over-engineered and completely unnecessary. That's why we dropped it. But we don't tout AI or machine learning or this or that or whatever, right? Our customers are very pragmatic because of exactly like you said, like they can't stop their blog posts. They got to keep things moving. And so they're very grounded in the realities of the day to day of the process and the procedure, and they're experts in it. It's amazing the things that we learn in every conversation with our customers because they have so much, just domain expertise and understanding that it's fascinating. I catch myself just kind of in awe sometimes of them talking about how they make these things happen. We take for granted we can go on Amazon, click something, and then it shows up on the doorstep. It's amazing all the work that goes into that and the people behind it that make it happen. For us, being pragmatic and matching up with our customers in that sense of let's solve the problems that need solving. Let's not try to force feed you some technology because it's the soup du jour or the word du jour. There's no reason to go down that path. We need solutions that, one, actually solve a problem that they have. Number two, that we know are going to work, right? When you can't stop the train running down the tracks or the car on the highway, it sure as hell better work. And so with those two things in mind, that's how we kind of approach every engagement and every conversation with our customers. Not, hey, here's what Slink does. Here's how we're going to change your business because we think we know everything. No, it's here's what Slink does. Here's what we're good at. Here's what we as a group and we as a partner can work with you on and what we bring to the table. And then we expect our customers to bring the other side of that, their domain expertise, their understanding of their business and their customers to the table with us so that we can get to that outcome in the future. And kind of by taking a more, how can we help and how can we apply our knowledge and share it with you so that we can get to this shared outcome in the future as partners. It's just different. It's a different go-to-market model than what I've seen. It's a different approach for a company, of our size and scale and all of those things. And I think it's probably the single most contributor to our success today. It's just really that approach of how can we help and, putting our hard hats on and going to work every day.
Yeah, starting with the end in mind. When you think about transformation just in general, whether it's personal transformation, like, if you're having a tough time and things seem challenging in your life, you may have someone ask you, what does your ideal day look like? When you boil it down to that, what does your ideal life look like? And let's, start creating processes and steps to get there. We can all get super anxious about the enormity of everything we have to accomplish. And that in and of itself, that anxiety because of there's so much to achieve and so much to do can cripple you from taking that first foot forward. And as you guys continue, and I just love that kind of lead with human-centric mindsets, that humans and supply chains, they're trying to come out with the easiest job to get the highest desired outcome across the company. And increasingly today, when you start that way, and I love that you're beefing up on the practitioner side too, because I think where I've seen a lot of technology platforms struggle, especially to get traction and sell the product and get people using it for a while, is that they bring a lot of tech folks into the conversation early on. And maybe we should be thinking a little more about supply chain first and those processes and the people doing that before we think about technology. But undoubtedly, there comes a point where we say, okay, I don't want to rip and replace. I have all these other systems, ERP, whatever it is. We're starting to see more and more buyers, at least I have over the last couple of years, start to come with, how does this connect with this? What does the API look like? And that's that cool word of interoperability. Because the supply chain is such a huge umbrella, we're going to have very many disciplines that we have to, consider as we map out the implementation of any technology. And we've seen the rise of some of these omni platforms in supply chain that function almost like, a hub that brings in other parts of the tech stack into a single source of truth. We're starting to see single pane of glass, single source of truth continues to be a big thing. Will supply chain leaders be asking for this more and more? Have you seen them come to you and say, it's kind of important for me. I need to understand as a part of this buying process how you integrate into X, Y, and Z. And then that takes me to another question. What about internal systems? Not even the forward-facing TMSs or the WMS. How does that work together in our other technology? So how do you have that conversation? Is it with the CTO? How does that look?
It depends. It depends on the engagement. Most of our conversations are at a very high level. And so, it's more outcome focused and things like that. And then as we get in and engage with the operating teams or the functional teams, then it becomes more about the user experience and how that flows. And, I don't know. I have a little bit of a distaste towards this utopian vision of, hey, everybody's going to log into our system, and we're going to be the only ones that they use. I don't know. I don't believe in that world. And I live again in a world with logisticians and supply chain folks where most of the processes are executed in email. And so the idea of an API is great, but the reality of their existence is the complete opposite. If we had APIs everywhere, life would be really, really good. But the reality is you don't. Through acquisitions, through growth, companies built IT infrastructure that they needed. And, again, to the rip and replace thing, they can't just do away with it and start over. It's this transition, and it's something that takes place over time. And, the hybrid cloud or multi-cloud or whatever you want to call it environment, that's just reality. Sure, you could slap a marketing word on it if you want to, but the reality is this stuff is all over the place. The data resides in clouds and on-premise systems, on pieces of paper, in emails, you name it. There's vital information, and so really our job is to use a logistics analogy, we're the port, right? Everybody comes through and interacts, and you can see what's going on at the port. And we're the port for whatever process it is we're solving for a customer, whether it's allocation, whether it's warehouse networking, whatever it may be. We're that place where that data comes through and they can see what's going on for that process and enable them to execute that process or automate part of it for them, if not all of it. And then that data goes back to other systems. We believe that certain companies are great at various things, right? Like right now, we're not a booking platform. InfoNexus has a great product there. Most of our customers use it. We work with them and use data from them for our purposes, and our customers are perfectly happy doing the booking in InfoNexus. That's fine. And then we're just additive in another way, or CargoWise, or whatever it may be. There are systems we are not going to lie to our customers and say that we can be everything to everybody. That again goes back to just being pragmatic and realistic. We assume that our buyers are very competent, very smart, and so we're not going to bullshit them. We're going to say, hey, look, they know we're a startup. They know we're a couple-year-old company. They know, yes, the software is great, the technology is great, but it's maturing and growing, and our customers want to grow with us. They want to work with us. The amount of time that our customers have spent with us, it's incredible. We wouldn't be here today without each and every one of them. But it goes back to a shared vision of, look, they've got these things in place. They've got these really hard problems that they have to solve because they have 5 different key pieces of information that are in 3 different systems. And so we can go on that journey together and take that, again, that kind of feet on the ground approach into solving some of those tough challenges. And so, is there a single pane of glass of the future that does everything in the supply chain? I find that really hard to believe. Even in some of the most sophisticated companies in the world, if you watch a process in the United States and then go to Brazil and then go to Singapore and then go to Europe, you're going to see 4 different ways of doing the same thing. And that's just the reality. And that's why, in our product approach, building something that's flexible, that's configurable, that can work with what's there. And again, our focus is on enabling people and making each person better than they are prior to Slink. And when you take that approach, you can fit in to those regional variances and to the operational variance that our customers inevitably have.
Yeah, pragmatism, empathy, partnership, strategic mindsets, saying the truth, showing them that, hey, we have people who work with us who know what you're going through. And we're not just here to implement something we think is great. We want to know what you need. And we're going to be that for you. Even if it means you're using other tech platforms, we're going to help you bring that story together, however your freight stack looks. And we're going to help you achieve more and be more efficient and get out there and compete, increase your margins, become more profitable, and have fun doing it along the way, And I'm sure this is, something you guys obviously have a culture of, getting into those companies you serve and really digging into their goals, not just one time, but all the time. But, there are contracts, right? There's a time to renew. There aren't forever contracts. So, before I let you go, I think, how do you guys go about renewing contracts? What do you say to leaders when they're saying, hey, it's time to renew. I need to see if I got an ROI from this investment. How should they think about that?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. I think it starts at the beginning for us. We pilot things. When you're putting something into operation and it could really screw up your methods of making money, you're going to be very cautious as a buyer. And I know, to a lot of people trying to build a company, pilots can be frustrating. They're very, very time consuming for both our customers and us. There's all these things that people try to throw this kind of negative connotation around a pilot. For us, it's an opportunity to do 2 things. One, learn our customers' business, learn the people, learn the process, get into a position where we at least feel like we can truly be a valued partner. And then number 2 is the ROI. We can test it in a small amount and say, okay, if we do it with 30 people instead of 3,000, and we can get this type of outcome, if we multiply that, then here's a theoretical outcome, or what we think we can achieve at some sort of discount. So say, 80% of that might be redundancy, or, whatever. But it gives us the ability to put something black and white from the very beginning, before even a subscription agreement is signed, that says, here's what our customers expect to generate from it. And I think, again, that goes back to kind of this pragmatic approach and this true partnership approach to any of our engagements, is just being transparent from step one. We charge our customers very simply by the seat, by the integration. It's, there's no secrets to our pricing. There's no hidden fees or agenda items that we try to slip in there. And so the value can be very significant for our customers, and that's fine. We want them to walk away happy, feeling like they got things. And for us, because of the pain of implementing, or the pain of that transformation of going through the change, we look at each one of our customers as, this isn't a one contract. This isn't a 2 or a 3-year deal, and we're worried about churning them. First, we have to earn their business every day because it is a subscription, and if they wanted to turn it off, they could. But number two is if we're doing our job and are a partner to them and are working with them and improving with them on a consistent basis, then we're looking at these relationships as 10, 15, 20-year relationships. And it's a very different mindset when you're geared toward a transactional sale, like a lot of software companies, and hitting a quarterly number or whatever that may be, versus, hey, we've got 10-year horizon that we're looking at here. Forget profitability over the next 60 days. Forget those types of things, and let's do what's right. Do what's right by our customer, and in a lot of cases, our customer's customer. And let's take an approach with that long horizon. And if we do that and are a partner, are a true servant partner to our customers, then great things happen. And that's that's again kind of a cultural and a mindset. If you look at our team, none of this is really a credit to me. It's really all the people here, and we just have a great group of problem solvers and people who take that approach every single day and every single phone call and every single meeting with our customers of how can we help, how can we push things forward, and how can we get to that point on the horizon and where we want to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now.
Oh, that's, it's really evident to me that culture and human-centric way of doing business is how you're helping the supply chain bridge the gap and transform truly. It's not picking up a new golf club and you get a new swing. You got to work at it, and you got to have some skin in the game. And if I had any more golf metaphors, I would bring them out today. But we've run out of
I
time.
wish golf clubs would help my game. I would continue buying them, but I
That's
definitely
right. But
have learned that
at some
one.
point, you're just collecting them, right? But
Yeah.
Chris, really fun to have seen the growth. On the sidelines as a fan and just a supply chain tech geek myself of what you guys have done with Slink. And man, it is evident that your leadership level continues to rise. The company continues to rise, and I'm excited to see what you guys have next. But thanks for coming on and giving our listeners some different things to think about in the way of technology in the supply chain. And if you want to check out Slink, where should they go to find your website?
Yeah, check out our website. Engage with us there, and somebody will be in touch. Slink.io, and yeah, we'd love to learn about your business and see how we can help. And Adam, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Hopefully this podcast is successful as the last one seems like it was. So best of luck.
Definitely.
And thanks again.
Thank you. And for all of our listeners out there who tune into Stacked each week, we can't thank you enough for supporting us. And if your freight tech stack feels like it needs something else, a lot of options out there. And I love having great leaders like Chris to come on and make us think about technology a little bit differently. Have a good one.